Now we take a quick look at some of the fruits of this. The first is solidarity with all that exists, especially other human beings. But also oneness with nature, the planet Earth and all creation, and a sense of the basic equality of all creatures as nothing in compared to God, or is brought forth by the love of God out of nothingness into some participation in the life cycle. And in the case of humans, the invitation is absolutely extraordinary, including in the life cycle the divine life itself, insofar as that's possible. Then the next one is willingness to serve. Sense of being equal to all and the servant of all. The next fruit is total self-surrender and receptivity. The fullness of forgetfulness of self in periods of pure awareness. So now we're speaking of stages that are beyond the night of spirit, that involve the bridal mysticism. And the next one might be called simplicity. The communion and oneness with all reality and the now, unity with the ultimate reality and all that exists. Everything is now seen to be sacred, or that God is all in all, as Paul puts it. And so now the third eye has been fully opened, so it sees God's everywhere and in everything, and everything in God. So Mary Magdalene is a symbol of this level of love, and that's why she was chosen as the apostle of the apostles of the resurrection, according to some mystics. So this is a state when, beyond the spiritual marriage that gradually develops through what might be called the night of self, for lack of any other term being proposed, in which God's absence is God just as much as his presence. In other words, he's so close that there's no way of distinguishing psychological states from, or their being able to separate us. Or as Paul puts it, nothing can separate us from the love of Christ. No events, nor our own weakness. And our own powerlessness becomes the vehicle in which the divine strength and energy can manifest itself to the full, according to St. Paul's experience. It's interesting that Paul describes his nothingness, or his experience of it, after his extraordinary experiences of heaven and the third heaven, and hearing things that he couldn't repeat. In other words, considered by some exegetes to be one of the greatest experiences of God, since he can't express anything. And he says he's been up to the third heaven, whatever that may imply. But anyway, he then points out that to prevent his becoming elated, God sent him this thorn of the flesh, which would seem to interfere with his ministry, or certainly with his peace of mind. And he prayed with very great vigor to be delivered, and God's response was, "My grace is sufficient for you, and my power is made perfect in weakness." So what that says about the divine therapist, isn't it? Seems to me. God is more concerned that we don't get inflated by the good things than he is about any spiritual accomplishments, even the greatest apostolate that Paul was engaged in. So everything flops if we start attributing to ourselves what is absolutely gratuitous. And so to become a channel of God's grace, as St. Francis prayed in his prayer, make me an instrument of your peace that challenges, and is part of this advancement or this bridal union and beyond. But it's the beyond that is the ultimate stage in which is manifested in the lives of the Beguines, who I think went beyond the Cistercians in recognizing that the bridal mysticism is a preparation for a further development of Christian life in which God is the major motivator of all of the actions of the individual, and they participate in whatever part of Christ's mystery he may wish them to bear, including the descent into hell, so that the very advanced soul may also be participating in the lowest possible degree of psychological enjoyment of it, as Christ did on the cross in moments when he felt abandoned by God. So the post-spiritual marriage is whatever God wants it to be. And as it develops, if it develops, it seems that beyond being a channel, there is still a further possibility of just plain allowing Christ to live in us, as Paul puts it. I live now, not I, but Christ lives in me, not just casually or occasionally, but all the time, so that the divine, so that he's being incarnated, you might say, in us. And through us is able to bring all of the riches and benefits of the actual incarnation in the person of Jesus to our time and place, or wherever in the world that the spiritual energy that is being generated and communicated. So here's the level of the maximum of the transmission of the divine life.